Watching News at Prime, let's get into another important conversation. Now, the global initiative against transnational organized crime has raised concern over the possible risk of political violence after next week's election. Its latest report showing that 10 political killings were reported in the first 4 months of this year, with an average of one hit every 2 weeks. Let's speak about this now with the National Freedom Party Secretary General, Canaan Mdletshe. Mondli Ncayiyane is with the Sizwe Ummah Nation, and a researcher at the University of KwaZulu-Natal is Gcinakahle Mathenjwa. To all of you, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Can I start with you, Mr. Mdletshe, because your party was among those that initially asked that KwaZulu-Natal perhaps be told or have curfews introduced in certain parts of KZN because of targeted killings. Among those were some of your members. Is that still what you think should happen? Are you worried about the state of things right now as we go to the elections next week?
Good evening, Oli, and good evening to other panelists as well. I think from where we are as the National Freedom Party, we can safely say that the situation has changed drastically since that time, because we can see now that there's a bit of stability in KwaZulu-Natal. And I think we must credit various leaders of political parties who, during the campaigning period, ensured that the statements and the public utterances that they make do not steer the people to act. And I think we must applaud and commend the leaders of various political parties. But having said that, I think, we cannot safely say that the situation has reached a point where we're saying it is now safe, because there are still in various parts of KwaZulu-Natal, in particular in the northern part of the province, where there are still incidents of intimidation, where councillors and leaders in KwaNongoma, where they are still threatened. Just to give a bit of a background, and the panelists and the viewers at home, I'll just mention what has happened from 2021, after 2021 local government elections up to date within the National Freedom Party. We've got a case of attempted murder and pointing of a firearm, where our councillor Nodlandla was attacked at home, and fortunately she was not at home at the time, but her son and the niece were shot at. And another incident that happened thereafter, Councillor Mdletshe, who was 68 years, was attacked while she was sleeping at home with one of a small child, and she was killed through the window, and she died right on the scene in front of a 3-year-old child who was there. Following weeks later, in August, Councillor Manqele was attacked and shot at while he was dropping his wife at Benedictine Hospital. And that happened in broad daylight, because it was just around 6 in the morning. Fortunately, people of KwaNongoma decided to act at that time, and they are the ones who chased after the suspect, and they apprehended him. And when the police arrived, the suspect was already in the hands of the community of KwaNongoma. And another incident that happened after that, Councillor Bongmusa Mbata received a threatening calls from people who are saying, you must resign, because if you don't resign, you are going to follow the same fate as Councillor Ntombetlemkhulu. And immediately after that, Councillor Zungu again was attacked, and she received several messages and phone calls from unknown people telling her to resign or else she was going to die. So those are some of the incidents that happened between 2021 January to up to date. And that tells you then that KwaZulu-Natal, in particular the area of KwaNongoma, remains one of the hotspots coming to this election. We're hoping that the law enforcement agencies are going to act accordingly. And we're happy when the Net Joints announced that they're going to deploy more personnel in areas of KwaNongoma and Ethekwini, because those are the areas that have been identified. And we are hoping that come the 29th of May, the elections are going to be free and fair. They will be incident-free, because if anything, no matter how minor it is, happens during the voting period, definitely we are going to be the first party to go and challenge the results of the elections.
Yeah. Mr. Ncayiyane, let's come to you. This organization, this global initiative against transnational organized crime, as they're saying that their concern is the possible risk of political violence erupting after the elections. How worried are you about political violence erupting in KZN? And what factors would either support that or perhaps dismiss them altogether for you?
Good evening, Tuli, as well as my fellow guest of panelists and all the viewers at home. First of all, as the current leader and the president of the Sizwe Ummah Nation, I want to put it on record that myself as well, when I was a deputy mayor a couple of years ago at our municipality, at Ummah municipality here in Harding in KZN, I also happened to face a death threat when I was at the municipality. But fast forward, thanks God, we are alive today. But we have to first admit that these political killings, they are a legacy from the bitter legacies that we have inherited from the apartheid era till to date. Before going to answer your question as how worried we are, we have to admit this fact that it's a legacy from the legacies which are bitter from the legacies of apartheid. Why am I saying that? Is that initially the political killings were planned by the apartheid government, and they were also executed by the apartheid government, and aiming the political activists who were involved in the liberation struggle at that time. And then as the time went on, then 1994 came. But if you look at 1994, between 1990 and 1994, it is reported that close to 14,000 political murders and political killings took place at that time. And what was the cause of this? It was because of, also the apartheid government. They flooded a lot of firearms within different political parties between IFP and ANC, which resulted in this culture of continuous political killings. And fast forward, and currently that has moved into your mayors, your councillors, your municipalities, and the political killings now are motivated by your lucrative lifestyle and salaries that are being paid to councillors and mayors and all political leaders in different levels of government. So the motivating factor, it is also your tenders, as well as your looting of state resources and taxpayers' resources by those who are connected politically, as well as it also involves people who are in your taxi industries, your Zinkabi, your hitmen and everything. But we are worried. Coming to your question, we are worried and we are concerned as the Sun Party, and we are praying on daily basis that we, after the elections, we are praying for a peaceful transition or a peaceful post-election era, because KZN is known as the epicenter of political killings. We are concerned, we are worried, and we are calling upon to the police, the minister, that they should strengthen, especially those hotspots where are known for political killings. Especially as well as the judicial system of the country. We are encouraging, advocating that they should pass, and follow up. There are many political cases of political killings which up till to date, I was reading the statistics that only 15% of these cases have been finalized. So we need, harsher sentences for such killings so that they can deter the continuation of political killings. That's my take for now. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Mathenjwa, let me bring you into the conversation. You are a researcher at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I'd like to combine two factors that were said by Mr. Ncayiyane just moments ago, and that is that the socio-economic conditions, or let me put it simply, poverty, unemployment, are some of the contributing factors to people vying for political office because political activism has now become a source of income. And with the intense political competition that is now coming about in the lead up to this election, the introduction of a party like the MK party, for example, and you can see the amount of following it seems to be amassing. Does that, or do those combinations for you make it fertile ground for political violence to erupt, as warned by this global initiative against transnational organized crime?
Yes, thank you for that. Well, indeed, they do, amongst a number of many other contributing factors. As the fellow panelist was saying, the issue of political killings in KZN is, and well, will continue to be a very serious phenomenon in the province. So it existed in three phases, as the panelist was saying, but to contextualize it, it existed in three phases. Now, it existed in the colonial era, which also includes the apartheid era, where activists were targeted by the National Party government. And then it went further to the transition era. Now, the transition era was motivated mainly by the conflict between the IFP and the ANC, including the National Party, the NP, trying to fuel the conflict between these two parties. Now, in the democratic dispensation, it takes a different form, because now it is no longer horizontal, in a sense that it is government attacking citizens, or it is no longer vertical, in a sense that vertical, when it includes government, horizontal, when it is inter-party conflicts. But now it exists mainly through factional battles within political parties. The ANC has been fertile land for such. The NFP has also been included in such incidents in local governments, whereby councillors, mainly local councillors, as founded by the Morane Commission, local councillors and comrades are killing each other for positions of power. And the motivating factor, as you have mentioned, for such assassinations is the acquisition of power due to the monetary benefits attached to those positions. Now, it even goes further, as it also includes individuals such as whistleblowers and traditional leaders, because it also speaks into the idea of the socio-economic environment, because whistleblowers, when they report corruption and maladministration in local government structures, that leads to these individuals being targeted because they are messing up a certain system whereby certain individuals are benefiting, including traditional leaders, because the chieftaincy positions puts one in a nearer proximity of monetary benefit. So most definitely it has, in the democratic dispensation, it has some sort of an entanglement with the socio-economic conditions in South Africa at large, but KZN in particular.
All right, let's take a pause there. We're going to continue the conversation after the break. I'm going to ask some of the political parties here tonight as to what it is that they can do through their manifestos, their policy proposals to end this violence. In a moment. You're watching News at Prime, and in conversation with us tonight on the issues of political violence in KwaZulu-Natal, we have the National Freedom Party's Secretary General, Canaan Mdletshe. Mondli Ncayiyane is with the Sizwe Ummah Nation, SUN for short. That's a political party, and we also have a researcher at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Gcinakahle Mathenjwa. Let's come to you, Mr. Mdletshe. Policy proposals. What is the NFP proposing to end political violence in KZN?
No, thank you, Tol. I think before I respond to your question, I think it's important for one to clarify that as a panelist mentioned that in KwaZulu-Natal, we had a Morane Commission that was established by the then Premier, Ubaba Welisi Mchunu, with the purpose of trying to establish what could be the causes of these political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. And the commission came out with many recommendations. And part of the recommendation was that we must, by all means, try to professionalize local government. in a sense, he was saying that we must ensure that the people who stand as candidates for free councillors must have some sort of a qualification. But a stat released by Natal, I think at the end of last year or this year, demonstrated that
All right,
about 300
Mdletshe,
councillors
let me interrupt you. Let me
tells
interrupt
that,
you, Mdletshe. I think it is Mr. Ncayiyane's phone that is ringing, and I'm sorry to do this. Okay, it seems to have gone quiet. Let's finish your thought, Mdletshe.
Political parties to ensure that, including the NFP, to ensure that when we engage the people of this country through our manifestos, we give them tangible proposals. One of the proposals that the NFP has come out with was that we must make sure that at least each and every police station has got enough personnel to ensure that the people in that in a particular area are safe. For example, we cannot have a situation where a police station has only about 13 police officers, but the community in that area, the population is 15,000. You cannot expect one police officer to look after 1,500 people, but that's the reality in South Africa.
Right.
And we are saying that we need to have more men and women women in the ground. We need to have more boots on the ground so that the political killings in KwaZulu-Natal subside. But over and above that, I think we need to strengthen working relationship with police, because for as long as the police are not working with the communities, we're going to have this problem. But over and above that, I think we must ensure that we do not appoint or elect people simply because they can toy or come out with slogans, but we must have people who are able to read and write, because I think that's one of the challenges. It's the fact that in a province like KwaZulu-Natal, where you've got over 300 councillors who cannot read and write, that is a disaster that can happen anytime, because it means that if you remove that person definitely is going to fight back, and that's when then these killings are going to continue.
Very, very good points you make there. Mr. Ncayiyane, let's come to you very briefly in less than a minute. What is the Sun proposing be done to try and end political violence?
As the Sun Party, we are advocating for that your mayors, your councillors, your premiers, your president, and all people who have been elected by and voted to lead in the political space, they should use public facilities. They should use public hospitals. Their children go to public schools. Similarly, like how you have your police, your nurses, your doctors, your lawyers, and especially those who are employed by the government. They are, most of them, using these facilities. Once we can transform the lifestyle, the lifestyle audits or the lifestyle of politicians, and bring it down to a level where they are not disattached to their communities and the realities on the ground, and try to avoid a situation where politicians are living this elite kind of lifestyle and lucrative lifestyle, because that is the main cause that people within their own parties, they are killing each other and vying for power because they want these types of benefits. Besides all maybe qualifications, but also people who must go into politics, there must be reforms that must be made in the political system of our country, whereby a person who's got no service to their communities, they haven't done anything in the past, maybe 5 years, you must serve your community and qualify to be a councillor or something under an NPO or NGO, and they show that you are a servant of the people before you aim for political position.
Mr.
These are
Ncayiyane.
some of the points that the Sun Party. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ncayiyane, I'm afraid, I'm sorry to cut you off. We are completely out of time, and that means Mr. Mathenjwa is unable to give us his last thoughts. But I want to thank you all very much for your participation and indeed your contributions to this important discussion. That's it from News at Prime this evening.